Oh, what it do, what it do, what it does, what it does. Welcome back to Rise React. So look, man, Craigslist, right? Now I didn't hop on Craigslist. Craigslist used to be pretty popular back in the day. You know what I'm saying? When I say back in the day, I mean like maybe like 2012, 2013, 2014, probably a couple years before that. I bought a dog off Craigslist before. I done bought a car off Craigslist. I done sold stuff on Craigslist. So I can only imagine how many horror stories come from people on Craigslist. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video.
I'm a big-time gamer, but when the PlayStation 5 came out, I couldn't really afford one. I kept an eye on Craigslist, hoping to pick one up for a decent price. Eventually, one came up for a really good price, and I knew I had to jump on it.
Before this story even gets started, bro, I got a homeboy, he done got robbed trying to sell a PlayStation 5. I had a homeboy that got robbed trying to sell a PlayStation 5. He had got into the dude's car. Hold on, did he get into a dude's car? How did the story go? I think it was something like, I think he did get into the dude's car and the dude pulled a pistol out on him. Yep. Got to the dude's car, dude pulled the pistol out on him, took the money because he was trying to, no, I take that back. He took the PlayStation because my friend had the PlayStation. So, I mean, who knows how far this story about to go, but I know somebody personally that got robbed for a PlayStation. You dig what I'm saying?
I replied to the ad, and within an hour, a man named Cam responded. We exchanged a few messages, and agreed to meet up at a Walmart near my place to make the exchange. I was a little nervous about meeting somebody from the internet, but the promise of a PS5 was too strong to resist. I walked there, and when I got to the parking lot, I scanned the area for anyone who looked like Cam.
Damn, what you mean you walked there, man? Who stays that close to a Walmart? I feel like Walmarts are like in shopping centers and like big shopping plazas. Well, who the hell is in walking distance of a Walmart?
I had only seen a blurry picture of him through the emails that we'd sent, but I was pretty sure I could pick him out. I walked around the parking lot fiddling with my phone. That's when I saw him. A tall, broad-shouldered man with a buzz cut and tattoos all over his arms. He looked like he just stepped out of a prison yard. My heart sank as I approached him.
Hey, are you the one buying the PlayStation?
He asked, his voice gruff. I nodded nervously, trying to keep a smile on my face. Yeah, that's me. Are you Cam? He nodded and motioned for me to follow him.
Yeah, that's me. Follow me. I'll take you to it.
I followed him to his car, a beat-up sedan, and it looked like it had seen better days. My nerves were starting to get the better of me, but I tried to stay calm. It was just a Craigslist exchange.
First off, you gotta follow your first gut. You know what I'm saying? I done did some things and I did not follow my gut and it went left. You did what I'm saying? So when he said that he was starting to feel nervous, that's for a reason, bro. That's like your natural instincts letting you know, hey, something fishy, homie. Might want to get up out of here.
Exchange. I had done many before, without incident. I stood next to the car, while Cam walked over to the driver's side door. He opened it, and looked at me.
Well, get in,
he said. You don't have it here? I asked.
It's at my place.
Oh,
I didn't have time to put it.
Nah, hell no. Hell no. First off, it's not going to be no big brewski dude that I'm going to meet and then he going to walk me to his car. Then, yeah, bro, you just going to roll with me. See, first off, this is why my man should have drove. Let's start off with that. Problem number one, who stays that close to a Walmart to the point where you can walk to a Walmart? Don't even make sense. My man should have drove. And then when you got that funny feeling in your stomach, you should have just said, yeah, you know what? I'm going to just stack my cheese up and buy it straight from Walmart because we already up here. You dig what I'm saying? Or get you a credit card. Might be a high interest rate, but you'll get what you want. This man is stupid.
Put it in the car. Just get in.
he said casually.
Nah.
I couldn't believe what was happening. There was no way this guy wanted me to get into his car. How could he not have time to put it in?
Exactly.
It takes 2 seconds.
Maybe 3.
I made up an excuse, then turned around and walked away as fast as I could.
Smart. I was under the impression he was about to get in a car.
I looked back when I was a fair distance away, and I was relieved that Cam was not following me. He just stood there at his car, staring at me with a menacing look on his face. I wanted to call the cops, because I was pretty sure he was up to something. However, I didn't really have anything to go on. As far as I know, it's not illegal to offer someone a ride, so I had no choice but to let it go. I had been out of work for a few weeks, and I was desperate to find anything that would pay. I was scrolling through Craigslist when I saw an ad that caught my attention. It was a simple ad, just someone looking for help with some odd jobs around their house for a day. I was hoping to find something permanent, but a day of work was better than nothing. The pay wasn't great, but it was enough to cover my bills for a few days. I replied to the ad, and to my surprise, I got a response within minutes. The man on the other end introduced himself as Terry and gave me his address. He explained that his house was being refinished and needed someone to come in and clean up the mess. I thought that was a little strange, because I assumed that the contractors would clean up after themselves, but maybe not.
Smart.
The next morning, I rode my bike over to Terry's house, a small 2-story brick house in a quiet neighborhood. I rang the doorbell and waited. The door...
That's like a beautiful home, man. I like a beautiful home. Definitely don't look like it's anywhere in the States, but this is a gorgeous house.
The door opened and Terry greeted me with a smile. He was a middle-aged man, balding with a slight beer belly. He was wearing a stained white t-shirt and a pair of sweatpants. "Good morning," he said as he stepped aside to let me in. "Good morning," I replied as I stepped into his living room. The room was well lit, with light blue walls and a large brown sofa in the center. There was a coffee table in front of the sofa, with a few magazines scattered across it. There was no sign of any construction work having taken place. That confused me slightly, but I figured it could be in a different part of the house. "Let me show you
Yeah, the bedroom, dummy."
around," Terry said, leading me to the back of the house.
Stupid.
We walked through the kitchen and into the backyard, where there was a shed. Terry opened the door, and I saw a few tools and paint cans on the shelves. "I need you to organize this and clean it up a bit," he said, pointing at the shed. "Sure thing."
Not the shed. The shed? I mean,
Replied.
The only creepier spot outside the shed is the basement. You know what I'm saying? But the shed is just as creepy.
I spent the next hour or so cleaning the shed and organizing the tools. When I finished, I went back into the house and let Terry know. "Good job," he said, smiling. "Now let me show you where the real work is."
No. I can see him doing it now. Let me show you the real work and unzip his pants.
He led me down a flight of stairs to the basement.
Bro, didn't I just say the only other spot creepier than the shed is the basement? I'm going to show you where the real work is at. Nah, bro, I need my paper now.
The basement was dimly lit, with a concrete floor and exposed pipes. There were a few boxes and a workbench in the corner,
He was going to kill you.
but no sign of any construction work. "I need you to clean up down here," Terry said, pointing at the corner. "There's a bit of a mess, but it shouldn't take you too long." I walked over to the corner.
I mean, it seemed like he just having him clean up the crib outside of like moving drywall or sweeping up sawdust. It's like he want him to wipe down the counters or something like that, bro. That's the impression I'm getting.
And saw a pile of old newspapers and some dust on the floor. I started sweeping and cleaning, but really felt like something wasn't right. Terry was standing in the corner, watching me.
Hell no.
As I was sweeping, I accidentally knocked over a box, and a few items spilled out. I bent over and picked them up. They looked like a bunch of old pictures. I gathered a handful of them, ready to put them back in the box. Then one of the images caught my eye. It looked like some kind of a creepy role-playing thing.
Oh, hell
There were
no.
people tied up, wearing strange outfits. I was pretty weirded out by that, and I wanted to leave. Then I saw Terry was gone, and the door was closed.
No.
I walked up the stairs and tried to open it, but it was locked.
Oh, hell
Terry?
no. Hell no. Hell no. That's why you don't go in anybody's basement, man. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, don't go in anybody's basement unless it's your family member. But most importantly, keep that thing on you.
Terry? I called out. What's going on? But there was no response. I started to panic. I looked around the room for another way out, and I noticed a small window near the ceiling. It looked too small for me to fit through, but I could see outside. I pushed a few boxes under the window and managed to climb up and open it. I squeezed through the tiny space and ran to my bike, which was still locked up out front. As I was riding away, I was shaking from the adrenaline. After I was a few miles away, I stopped and called the police.
He was going to try to freak on him. Once again, this is a beautiful looking neighborhood. Maybe it's just because the trees, but, it look very, very nice.
They came to Terry's house and talked to him, but he had an excuse for what happened. He told me that I was helping clean his house, but I was acting strangely. He said that he thought I was on drugs, so he asked me to leave. He said that I must have called the police to get back at him.
I bet $5 that Terry, I think that's his name, I bet he put bars on that window now. Watch. Well, I ain't gonna say watch, so you probably don't get that information, but a freak dude that like to do freak stuff like that, he put some bars on that window after that happened.
That was all total BS, but the police didn't know, and there was no evidence of any wrongdoing. I was frustrated and scared that nothing could be done, and that Terry would continue to post ads on Craigslist and prey on unsuspecting people. I knew that I had to warn others, so I decided to post an ad on Craigslist to tell people about him. I described the situation in detail and urged others to be careful when responding to ads like Terry's. Whenever I look back at this incident, I realize how lucky I was to have escaped.
Yeah.
There's no telling what Terry's intentions were,
He was trying to freak on you, man.
but they certainly weren't good.
At all. He was gonna try to throw a finger in you, bro. Definitely put that finger in you.
I'm Derek, and this is a really scary thing that happened to me about a year ago. I had a camera that I didn't use anymore. I was really into photography for a while, but I didn't have much time for it anymore. The camera was a high-end model, and it was in excellent condition. I posted it on Craigslist, hoping to sell it locally and avoid the hassle of shipping it somewhere. It wasn't long before responses started coming in. One of them was from a guy named Dan. He offered to buy my camera for less than half of what it was worth. I was insulted by the offer and told him so, but he persisted, sending multiple messages every day. He kept making lowball offers, and I kept refusing. Eventually, he made a decent offer, and I actually agreed to sell it to him. We arranged to meet at a subway station near my apartment. I was looking forward to finally making the sale and moving on with my life.
He lying. He said messages started to flow in. Well, if messages was starting to flow in, why you go with this guy? Dude be lying.
I arrived at the subway station. I saw 3 men standing there where we agreed to meet. They were all much larger than me, and they were all staring at me.
Of course.
I felt a knot form in my stomach, but I tried to remain calm. "Hi, Dan?" I said, walking over to them.
Hey,
He said, with a smirk. I nodded to each of the men, but I could feel their eyes sizing me up. I started to regret agreeing to meet them here. There was a tension in the air that I can't quite explain, but I told myself not to be afraid.
so, do you have the camera?
Dan asked. I nodded and pulled it out of my bag. Here it is, in great condition, just like I said. Dan took the camera from me and inspected it carefully. He turned it over in his hands, looking at it from every angle. I could see the other men watching him, their eyes darting from the camera to me and then back again. Finally, Dan handed the camera back to me.
This isn't worth what you're asking for,
Damn.
he said.
Damn. He hit you with the oopty-doop.
In an aggressive tone. I felt a sinking feeling in my chest. I had expected this, but I had hoped he would at least stick to his word. I'm sorry, but we agreed on the price already. I can't go any lower than that. I felt very intimidated with those 3 men standing over me. It was like an unspoken implication that things would go wrong if I argued any more. Dan stepped closer to me, his face inches from mine.
Listen, kid. I'm doing you a favor by even offering you this much. You should take it and be grateful.
I could feel his breath on my face.
Boy, I would have pulled out the pocket knife just right then and there. Like, boy, you got me messed up. Give me my money or back the hell up. Just like that, man. Why people don't be having weapons, bro?
And I felt a surge of anger. Who was he to talk to me like that? I took a step back and stood up straighter.
Uh-oh.
I can't go any lower. Take it or leave it,
Okay.
I said with forced confidence.
Stand your ground.
Dan's face twisted in anger. Then he lifted up his shirt, which revealed a gun in his waist.
Uh-oh.
I was feeling...
He ran into a real one. He ran into a real one. And check it. If he would have had his pistol, he should have just upped it right then and there.
very threatened. The other 2 men were standing there, stone-faced.
Now listen.
He said, pointing at me.
You're going to take the money that I'm offering, and you're going to hand over that camera.
Damn.
I felt really terrified. I didn't know what to do. The other men had circled around me. I could feel their presence closing in. I knew I had to get out of there, but I didn't want to give in to these bullies. However, as I looked into Dan's eyes, I saw something that scared me even more than the gun. It was a glint of madness. A look that said he was willing to do anything to get what he wanted. I knew I had to be careful. Okay, I said, holding my hands in surrender. I'll take the money. They each took a half step back, and I felt a surge of relief.
Good,
He said.
I knew you'd come to your senses.
Oh, hell no.
He handed me the wad of cash, and I quickly counted it. It was less than half what we'd agreed on, but I knew I had to take it and get out of there. As I handed over the camera, I felt a pang of regret. I knew I'd let these guys take me for a sucker, and
Yeah,
I
you
felt
did.
really crappy.
You did.
The 4 men walked away.
Bro, he probably wasn't going to even pull the pistol out on you, bro. You should have tried him. I ain't gonna lie.
I stood there feeling numb. As I walked back to my apartment, I felt a mix of emotions. I was angry, scared, and disappointed. I couldn't believe that people could be so ruthless, so willing to do anything for money. When I got back to my apartment, I sat down and tried to process what had just happened. I looked at the money on the table, feeling both disgusted and ashamed of myself. But as I sat there, I realized I couldn't just let it go. I had to do something. I couldn't just let those guys get away with what they had done. I had to stand up for myself, to make sure that they were held accountable. I picked up the phone and called the police. I told them what had happened, giving them as much detail as I could. They listened patiently and asked me questions to clarify. When I had finished, the officer on the other end of the line told me that they would do everything they could to help. They took down my information and promised to follow up. A few days later, I received a call from the police. They had located Dan and his friends, and they had found the camera in their possession. They denied everything, of course, but the police told me that Dan agreed to return the camera if I gave back the money. I'm sure he tried to spin it like I was crazy or something. It wasn't the perfect outcome, but I took it. I felt like I was bullied and pushed around by a group of fake tough guys. They really
Told you they was fake as hell. Fake ass, tough ass.
should have been charged with assault or something, but I know there's really no way to prove it. Even if there was surveillance footage, it really wouldn't have shown anything incriminating. I guess it's best to just let this one go.
Yeah, he was fake as hell.
Dropbox is linked to my iPad, to my laptop, my Cintiq. I love that.
I bought a new car last year, so I decided to put my old one on Craigslist, since I used it to buy and sell other stuff. Over the next few days, I received some responses. Most were lowball offers, and some were obviously scams. But eventually, I got a reply from a guy named Sal, and he offered me the full price that I was asking. I thought it was a fair price, if not a little low already, so it was not surprising. He wanted to meet up and take a look at it, and possibly take it for a test drive. We arranged to meet at a gas station near my house. When I arrived at the gas station, I saw who I assumed was Sal, standing by a beat-up pickup truck. He was the only one there, so I figured it must be him. He was a short, stocky man, with a thick beard and a bald head. He looked a bit creepy, but I tried not to judge too quickly.
Sometimes it's safe to judge people.
I parked at the front and waved him over. I moved into the passenger seat of my car, and Sal got into the driver's seat. We took off down the road, and I couldn't help but feel a bit nervous. Sal seemed like a strange character, and I wasn't sure if I could trust him. As we drove down the road, he started asking me all sorts of questions about the car. He seemed to be very knowledgeable about cars, much more than me. He even offered to pay me the full asking price, right then and there. I was a bit surprised that he was willing to pay so much money without even haggling with me, but I was thrilled because it meant I was going to be able to get a good deal for the car.
Someone.
We drove to the DMV and filled out the paperwork for the sale. Sal handed me a cashier's check for the full amount, and I was really happy about it. I went to the bank and deposited the check, but when I handed it to the teller, she looked at me in a strange way. She then said that she needed to get her manager.
My boy, they scammed him.
The two of them approached me and told me that the check was fake.
Scam.
I couldn't believe it. I had trusted Sal, and he'd lied to me. I tried to contact him, but he never answered.
And the thing is, he went down to the DMVs and he really signed it over, so he probably can get away with that.
Any of my calls or emails. Regretfully, I didn't get any of his actual information in the transfer. Come to think of it, I'd be surprised if his real name was actually Sal.
Stupid.
I felt really angry and disappointed. I had put my trust in a stranger, and he'd taken advantage of me. I felt like I lost not only my car, but also my self-respect. I was so upset that I didn't even want to tell my wife what had happened.
Play.
I had always thought...
Hell no, I didn't. I know you don't want to tell your wife what happened, boy. She ain't gonna look at you the same. She gonna be like, dude, did you really just get played like that? You didn't ask no questions. You didn't get no information. And you willingly signed it over. I don't know what's worse. This is worse than actually getting carjacked. Because you was actually kicking it with the dude. And you had the signs that something might be wrong by him not haggling. Every time I sold something on Craigslist, bro, I'm haggling. If somebody wants something for $300, I'm like, look, bro, I got $260 for you right now. I don't know anybody that don't haggle, bro. Actually, most people mark their stuff up so they got room to haggle. Just stupid, man.
Thought that I was good at spotting a scam. I never fall for the really obvious ones. This one was different. We dealt face to face. In my experience, that's usually pretty safe. I thought there must be some way to track him down, but when I looked it up online, I found that it's actually a pretty common scam, and there's really no way to get your stuff back.
Exactly.
This was an expensive lesson that I'll never forget.
That dude's an idiot. That last dude was a pure idiot. How you sign your whole vehicle away? Your whole vehicle away. Went down to the DMV, gave you a cashier's check. That last one was dumb. The other ones was alright. That last one was dumb. Look, with that being said, man, like, subscribe, and I'm back at y'all in a little bit. Peace.